I don't have any regrets. I'm grateful for all my battle scars. It makes me a more empathetic person, and it helps me do what I now do far better. So, I had realized that that wasn't my path, and it was very important for me now to move in greater alignment to what my path really is. I felt like if I didn't move, the universe would stop filling my sails with wind and parting the ways and opening the doors. It meant that I could now do the thing that I've always known I'm here to do. I've just never given myself permission to go and do it.
My guest today is Ret Taylor, a modern-day guide helping leaders reconnect with what truly matters. After 20 years as a founder, entrepreneur, Ret realizes that true success starts from within. His work combines ancient wisdom with modern leadership through solitude, challenge, and reflection to help people find their truth. This conversation is about thresholds, moments in midlife that make use of pause, listening differently, and stepping into who we're meant to become. Welcome on the Midlife Remix.
Thanks, Stephen. It's good to be here.
I would like to start a little bit with your upbringing, because I think that was an important part of how you became who you are today. Maybe let's start with talking about what shaped your view on success and safety.
It goes back to a memory that I had repressed until about a year and a half ago. And it was a memory of being in a bus station. I think it was in Albuquerque. It might have been Santa Fe, with my mom and my two little sisters. And it was a cold winter night. It was probably 2 or 3 in the morning. My mom, my sisters, and I, we've been traveling for a long time at this point. And we were moving for probably the 3rd time in a year. I remember feeling like I was being dragged there. I didn't want to be there. It was not a place I wanted to spend time. And I remember at 10 years old making a vow to never have to be there again. And what that looked like to me at 10 was, I'm going to work hard. I'm going to do hard things. So I'm going to get really good at doing hard things. It meant that I would go on to become an Enneagram 3, the achiever, right? And I would do everything I could to prove to myself over and over and over, and everybody around me, that I didn't need to go back to that bus station, to be that hungry, that cold, that tired, that afraid, that unsure with my family. Yeah, it meant that it was my companion for 35 years. And it's not a great companion, fear. I was finally able to drop it about a year and a half ago. But it was there with me for quite a long time. And there was also fear around letting it go. What happens if I stop having that fear? Do I lose my drive?
What do you think was limiting from that experience?
I wonder what it would have been like to have had those years in pure potentiality, in my consciousness, with abundance. I don't regret any of it, though. And it's made me who I am, and it's made me far more capable of understanding what pure potentiality really is, and just what the benefits of abundance can be.
So do you feel that you missed out on certain things, or certain things didn't evolve in the way that they could have? Like my success also was fueled by fear.
I don't have any regrets. I'm grateful for all my battle scars. It makes me a more empathetic person, and it helps me do what I now do far better. I definitely know what it felt like, though, or what that mental gymnastics is, to fear that idea that, well, then what will motivate me? If it's not fear, I'll probably just end up on a beach drinking Coronas all day long until my money runs out and my health runs out. And I think a lot of us have that fear. In fact, I know we do. But when you're done doing that, something deeper comes in, and that begins to take a hold. And it's really when we strip away all the shoulds and all the layers and all that plaque that builds up over the years, that we begin to recognize what matters most to us. And that's where we can move with abundance and joy and ease and alignment. And that's really the fun side of it.
When did you start to sense that something was shifting and that success no longer was working for you?
I was asked by one of my best friends to facilitate a YPO retreat, a Young Presidents Organization retreat in the mountains near Vail, Colorado. And the way I showed up for that was with joy and ease and alignment and confidence. And for the first time in years, I didn't have a speech fully memorized and a PowerPoint. And I just showed up with my own essence and confidence that I live and breathe this stuff. It's what I love. And I did that. And I showed up and it went incredibly well. And each of the participants loved it and I loved it. And it felt in flow. And there was this joy to it, this ease. And that was the first inkling. And then immediately after that, a week later, I am climbing Denali, the tallest mountain in North America up in Alaska. And it's a, multi-week expedition. And it was getting back to nature. It was getting back to solitude, silence, and really stripping away the noise. So I had a lot of time to think. And on Denali or on any big mountain, it's just one foot in front of the other and a lot of time thinking to yourself and spending time in your tent. And that's the program. And it's very much like a vision quest where you remove the layers and you see what's down there once the noise dissipates. And that really helped me. It was then at 18,000 feet, just 2,000 feet shy of the summit. We'd had great weather the whole trip, but we were tracking a massive storm that was coming our way, and we were going to be stuck in a week to 2 weeks of 100-mile-per-hour winds and negative 50-degree temperatures. We had to make the decision, do we stay and stick it out and try to summit later, or do we head down the mountain and maybe try again? And it was there laying in my sleeping bag that night, knowing that decision had to be made in the morning, that I really let go. I felt like the expedition had already been beautiful. We were already higher than I'd ever been. And it was this beautiful moment of letting go of the oars that I had been rowing so hard since that bus station.
So take us to that moment when you realized that you were white-knuckling your life. And I love that analogy. Talk to me about what that moment was like in that tent and the experience that you've had.
I was laying there in the tent with the storm bearing down, and you could begin to hear the flaps of the tent flapping in the wind. And I'm there in my sleeping bag, and I realized that I had my hands balled up into really tight fists. And it was the pressure of that decision. Do we stay on the mountain and do the hard thing, or do we leave and do the easier thing? And I realized that my hands were balled up, my knuckles were white, and it took me minutes to release my fists. I realized that I felt like I'd been rowing ever since that bus station, ever since I was 10 years old, just rowing upstream through the rocks and rapids and with looking forward. And so that I knew exactly where I was going so I could control it. And I realized that wasn't serving me. And I let go. I opened my hands fully. And I let go of the oars, and I actually felt them, and I saw those oars in my mind's eye, and I saw them leave my hands. And I felt myself begin in this rowboat to drift backwards along this river. And I knew that if I let go into who I most am at my core, into who I truly believe I'm here to be, that the universe would carry me around the rocks and rapids and through the braided channels, the right channels. And it was then that I really let go of needing to do the hard thing for the sake of worth, and instead to go with flow and alignment. And that moment has made a massive difference in my life and my family's life, and really a lot of other people who I work with these days.
So how has that moment changed the way you approached your business and your relationships and yourself afterwards?
Yeah, well, at the same time that we were having to make the decision to stay on the mountain or go, we were having to make the decision to sell our business or not. It was a direct consumer brand, and I spent way too much of my time in the office looking at spreadsheets. So I had realized that that wasn't my path, and it was very important for me now to move in greater alignment to what my path really is. I felt like if I didn't move, the universe would stop filling my sails with wind and parting the ways and opening the doors. And so I came back and I shared that with my business partner, and he was on board. He was ready to sell as well. We had a very fortunate, serendipitous exit that was not life-changing in terms of financial gains, but certainly life-changing in terms of what it meant for my family and I going forward. It meant that I could now do the thing that I've always known I'm here to do. I've just never given myself permission to go and do it. I never felt like it was lucrative enough. I never felt like I had the degrees to go do it but I finally gave myself permission to.
Isn't it funny how we often know what it is that we're supposed to do, but there are so many distractions or outside forces that make us question our beliefs. And yeah, it often takes these kind of moments that you had on the mountain where you're facing, yeah, I mean, in some way you could have faced, life or death, right? So those kind of moments are pushing you into the right direction.
Yeah, really, life and death can be helpful in clarity, but a far, I think, easier and more effective way is just stripping away the layers and really getting back to nature, getting into silence, solitude, and and then also dropping judgment and allowing ourselves simply to be curious. Judgment takes up a lot of space in our brains.
Judgment
Just
of
removing,
yourself.
yeah, judgment of yourself, of others, all the shoulds we place on ourselves, removing that, stripping away that so that you can get down to the core of what really, really matters, which is what I did on that mountain.
And you referred a couple of times now to the universe, and I use that word too, and I have a conception in my mind of what it is. How do you describe what that is?
Yeah, it's the source. It's the power that's out there that is bigger than you and I, that we can refer to in times like when my mom passed or being there on the mountain and having a decision to make. It's that energy that's out there. And yeah, it's hard to describe, but that doesn't scare me at all. I actually love the things that are hard to describe, the things that come from the gut, the ancient parts of the brain.
So why do you think that the noise distracts us from knowing who we truly are?
It's the stories we've told ourselves. It's the things that might have served us in our 20s and 30s, but no longer serve us in our 40s or 50s or beyond. It's that, I had a lot of noise around the scarcity mindset, the survival mode I grew up in. And that led me down a certain path that wasn't authentic because it was based on fear. And an authentic path would have been based on the tremendous abundance that's in the universe, that we all have. And that's noise. That's real noise. That's really, really loud.
I think also a lot of times it's about disassociation, right? So when we're on a Zoom call with a bunch of people, and the conversation is going in the direction that we don't want it to go or we feel uncomfortable, what do? We go on email and we read our email while we're sort of still listening because we don't really want to listen. So I think a lot of the noise actually is deliberate distraction from feeling what we feel, which our feelings are as important information as what our prefrontal cortex is giving us. So that's sort of how I relate to it and why I've been craving more quiet and trying not to distract myself as much with other things. But how do you think about this?
Yeah, I think you're 100% right. And in the Vision Quest, we take away your phone, we take away, you don't bring a book, you decide whether or not you want to bring a journal. It's about being comfortable with the boredom, and the boredom is your friend. The boredom allows you to go deeper. It allows you to spend the time it takes to get to peel away those layers of the onion. And that, again, is where the real stuff lives. That's where your truth lives. That's where your pure potentiality lives.
So walk me through this vision quest. So like I sign up with you and say like, hey, I need to reconnect with myself, and I'm burned out from my corporate gig. Please help me. So I arrive, I assume somewhere in Colorado, and what do you do?
Yeah, well, Colorado in the summer, yes. Utah in the spring and the fall. Baja or other places around the world, Saudi Arabia, Namibia in the winter, warm places. But before you've arrived, we've done a lot of work together. We've worked on an understanding of what the Vision Quest is. You've set your intention. You're prepared. There's a good amount of work that goes into that. But yeah, you arrive. The cool thing is, what I love to do is do this in groups. I do the Vision Quest because the doing that in a group, you've got 7, 8, 9 other people who've just been through this experience with you to then help you hear your story and then mirror it back to you. But yeah, we spend a day getting acclimated, getting ready, purifying ourselves, and going through the different rituals and rites of passage within the threshold. And the threshold is the Vision Quest itself, but it starts with a severance. And the severance is removing yourself not only from society and titles and roles, but from the things that are no longer serving you. And so we separate ourselves. Then we go into the threshold. And the threshold, the etymology of the word threshold is the place where wheat was brought to, and it was beat against the floor, and the wheat would separate from the chaff. And the chaff would be discarded. That would be severed. It's no longer needed. It's no longer serving. And then the wheat would be carried out and given to the people as nutrition. And so that's the threshold. And that's the point of the Vision Quest, is to come back to your people, your family, your company, your community, your nation, and to share your vision with them to make them better. It's a very selfless process. And so, practically speaking, it's 3 or 4 days fasting in nature on your own, by yourself, with very few things to distract you. Food is a big distractor. We think about food constantly. 3 times a day we're eating. And so we remove that so that you can you can allow those thoughts to go deeper and run deeper and take the time that they might require to peel that onion back. And then there's a big healthy dose of beautiful nature. And you've got all the movement within nature, from the clouds to the stars to the sun to the insects and chipmunks and the birds above. And there's a deep connection that happens with all of that, which leads to characters in your vision. And on the final day, we all come back and we sit in circle, and the people who did the Vision Quest share their vision, and they share that with the circle. And the circle then gets to mirror that back for them. Essentially, storytelling is meaning making, and mirroring helps the storyteller make the meaning. And so it's a really beautiful process that honestly speeds up the understanding of your visions and allows you to incorporate them, which is the third and final phase, to incorporate your vision into the body and then bring it back to your people and begin to live it.
I've fasted many times before, and I actually think about food quite a bit, but maybe it's different when you're in nature. Tell me about that. 4
Yeah,
days of not eating is not easy for most people, and maybe that's the point, that it's not supposed to be easy.
well, it's not supposed to be hard. And the way I do the Vision Quest is, it's not a sufferfest. It's simply a removal of distractions. It's a silencing so that you can get to the bottom, the things that really matter. And the big fear for most is, gosh, that sounds like a lot of time to not eat.
Yeah.
But everyone who comes out says, That was easy. The first day was tough. Maybe the second morning was tough, but then it actually helped me. And which is cool because then you go into this kind of liminal space between the dream world and the awake world. And that's where all these layers really begin to break down. And those liminal dreams can be very eye-opening and truth-telling for you. So it's an act of putting yourself in that space by not eating.
Yeah, I love that. Talk to me about reconnect, refine, and rise.
Yeah. So it occurred to me while reading two very different books that were actually saying the same thing. One is 10x is easier than 2x, a business book about how doing the hard thing, the extremely hard thing, is actually easier than doing the easy thing. It forces you to think differently. It forces you to dig deeper. The other book was Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. And Elizabeth is just such a wonderful writer. She's the author of Eat, Pray, Love. She and Big Magic is just a wonderful book. She says we all have hidden treasures and they're buried deep, deep within us. It's a matter of whether or not we have the courage to go on the hunt to uncover those treasures. And if we do, what we're doing is signing up for an enchanted life. And I love that word enchanted because that's a world, or that's a word in a life that's connected with source, with the universe opening for you. And so when we set out to uncover our individual buried treasures, the universe gets behind us and fills our sails. And so it occurred to me that in order to get there, we first need to reconnect. And that's what we've been talking about with the peeling away of the layers. We need to reconnect with our true self, begin to know ourselves in our pure essence, pure consciousness, pure potentiality. And then we also need to strip away the stories, the layers, the plaque that gets built up that no longer serves us. And that's, again, stripping away that idea of scarcity and fear and these stories that might have gotten us to where we are now, but again, they're no longer serving us. And that's the reconnect and the refinement. That's the scaffolding so that we can then rise into our best selves, into who we're meant to be. And I believe that we're all meant to be somebody. And so that's the reconnect, refine, and rise. And that's the loose framework through which I like to take my coaching clients.
Why do you think it's so hard for these high achievers to pause and let go? Why do you think that they're searching for something different, that they take maybe from most listeners a quite extreme step of being able to find themselves?
Yeah, again, there's that fear that these stories are serving us, that fear is that kick in the ass that we need, and that there's something good about this uncomfortableness that is propelling us to go and be a bigger version of this fearful self.
Do you think that people don't know what the other options are, or do you think that
Yeah,
they're
I think a lot of people don't know what the other options are. And I think we're extremely blessed to be here in America in a time and place where we can even contemplate what other options are. And I've traveled the world and I know that for most people, it's about survival. And that's how I grew up. And it feels very high-minded to propose to them that there is another way. I know exactly what that feels like. So yeah, it's a privilege to be able to take the time, energy, resources to go and find out who we truly are and to move in that direction. At the same time, it can be really scary to uncover what that really looks like. We know what our life looks like now. If we uncovered those hidden buried treasures, it could mean that we need to go and do something else. It could mean that we need to, really begin to live those core values, which might feel daunting. It might feel scary or like too much work, but it's the work. It's the reason we're here. And it's what gives us energy and fuel and fulfillment and joy and ease and happiness. And, Elizabeth Gilbert also says within that quote, she says, some of us choose not to go on the hunt to uncover our buried treasures. And that's okay. But what you're signing up for there is a mundane life. That's the word she uses. If you do choose to go and uncover those buried treasures, you're signing up for an enchanted life.
Yeah. I sometimes envy people who are content with having a mundane life. Because unfortunately or fortunately, my brain just doesn't work that way.
I love life so much and I want to explore it. And to me, it's very important that I do. Perhaps I'll work with that as I think about it, just why it's so important and why I'm so keen on getting the most out of it.
Yeah, for me, it's about living intentionally, and that's sort of the essence of what I try to help my clients with. Because as you said, like everyone has different motivations. Those motivations are derived from our early experience in life, and our DNA and where we grew up and all of that. And that is very different. But living intentionally means that you figure out what it is that drives you, that you want, that truly you want, not the external things that are influencing you, that and then and then and then figuring out how you step by step do things with a purpose, so that you're not just in the hamster wheel running and you don't even know why you're running. You just know that you have to run the whole time. So I think that's a very important part of that.
Yeah, I think so too. And when I think about alignment, it's that just that knowing, that deep inner knowing that's not prefrontal cortex, that isn't, maybe it doesn't have the words, but deep in your heart, in your gut, you just know that this is aligned or this is not aligned. And it can be really hard to know what that is. Maybe it's aligned with keeping you away from that biggest wound of yours. Because it sure felt aligned to me to make a lot of money. I mean, that felt very good. But I was doing it out of fear so that I would stay away from that bus station and never need to go back. And the things I do these days are for alignment out of joy, ease, self, full consciousness, and who I truly am at my core. It's out of abundance. And there's a different feeling that comes from that sort of alignment that maybe I needed the experience of the previous to understand this better. And again, I'm very grateful for all that time. This is a different feeling. It feels good on this side.
Yeah, I'm not sure that I'm always aligned. I try to be, and I've developed various practices that help me be more aligned, and shedding a lot of bad habits, or habits that were self-destructive, that make it harder for me to be aligned. But I still definitely have my moments where I feel this inner turmoil of dissatisfaction with myself and the world around me. But yeah, I think practice and process enables you to get closer to that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I feel the same, Stephen, of letting go and the trust and faith that comes with that. When you're on your path, aligned with the thing that the universe most wants for you, which is what you most want for yourself. It's one and the same. But yeah, it can be very tempting to grab those oars again.
Yeah, because we think that we can control, and so that's why we're trying to grip so hard and push so hard. In reality, we can't control much or anything. I feel, like I had this experience where I I had my life essentially flash in front of me, not my entire life, but all my difficult moments in my life. And I realized that I was in each of those moments, I was trying so hard to control it. And I think that life, or the universe, as you said, or there's probably many other words that we can use, gave me all of those moments to grow and to learn who I became. And I don't know from what tradition it comes from, but it says that life doesn't give you what you want. It gives you what you need, and that there's no good or bad things that are happening. It's just happening, and we grow from them. Of course, when you're in that shit, it's rarely that you have that presence and you're saying, thank you, life, for giving me this, really, really difficult challenge right now. And I'm going to grow from that. But hopefully the longer we live and the more we go through these experiences, we are able to grow from them.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes it just takes time and that presence and awareness of saying, this feels like distress. This feels like it's happening to me. Wait a minute. What if it's happening for me? All of a sudden it turns from distress into eustress. And that's eustress, eustress. That's the good stress, the stress like working out, reading, that actually helps us, feeds us, makes us grow and become stronger and more capable. And I actually think that you can take the distressful things, if you have the presence and awareness, you can then recognize that and turn those into eustress. And
Yeah.
that's like living above the line or below the line and having those somatic reminders. And it's being very intentional, as to use your word.
So
Yeah.
instead of me reacting and trying to push it away, I can then actually listen more intently and saying, okay, well, there's something there that I probably need to work on instead of
Yeah.
rejecting it.
Yeah. What is the gift within it? Simple question. What's the gift in this? And it's a reframe. And our language is powerful, and we can shift it all. This is happening to me. This is happening actually for me. So what's the gift?
Yeah.
I need to do this. I have to do that. Let's shift it to I want to do this. I want to do that. It's just very simple, but that energetic shift is massive.
If you could go back in time to when you're like in your mid to late 20s, what advice would you give yourself?
Yeah, I'm not big on giving advice. I would have helped myself figure out that it's all going to be okay. And this fear that I'm carrying isn't serving me.
And let's take it, the other direction. You're 85 now and you're looking back at yourself now. What would you say to yourself?
Beautiful question. See, you'll never be perfect. That's okay.
Yeah, is that there is that for people who are seekers, we always try to strive to becoming better, and there is something around that is about perfection, right?
Yeah, it is. It's about always the next, the next, the next, the next.
Yeah.
It's about our early wounds, our biggest wounds. And it's about getting as far away from those as possible through safety and accolades or whatever it is for you. For me, it's that. It's achievement. It's proof. I'm getting away from that though. I actually took the Enneagram again and was always a 3-7-9, and now I'm more of a 7-3-9,
Yeah.
dropping that achiever mentality.
Yeah, it's beautiful to see that neuroplasticity is real, and we can change, and that the self is a story that we're telling ourselves rather than something that is written in stone and can't be changed.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. I like that. Well said.
Well, thank you so much for your time. This was a lovely conversation. I will need to go into nature soon and experience some of what you've talked about, and I encourage others to do the same. When is your book coming out?
2026, and it's called The Vision Quest, and it'll be all about that beautiful rite of passage and the journey into it.
Well, I look forward to reading it, and when it comes out, I'll have to have you back on, and we'll share the insights from it, and hopefully a lot of people will be able to read it and learn from it as well.
Be wonderful. That's my goal.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.